If it were not for the time limit, this card would be truly invincible. With it, he no longer needed to improve his cultivation base. He did not know how many times he had emptied his dantian, and he had lost count, because it would be instantly filled whenever that happened. In total, it took him 25 minutes to fix the shield, which finally stabilized. When he touched it, he could see bright and terrible ripples spreading like waves on the ocean. Zhou took a deep breath as he looked around before glancing at the system panel. He still had 3 minutes. Yuan killed the rest of them. He gave the order in a calm voice. Little Yuan alone was enough to deal with them. There was no need for him to do it himself. I understand, Master. Fang Jinshan had been blown to bits. Among the rest of the Divine Court cultivators, the strongest ones were only at the Dao controlling stage. The Divine Court realm was divided into 3 stages: Dao shaping, Dao controlling, and Dao transforming. There was a huge gap between each stage, and the gap was greater between one with a precious treasure and one without. However, these cultivators would never be a match of the 9 disciples of Golden Court Mountain, even if their cultivation bases were on the same level. At that moment, Liu Yuan could finally vent her pent-up anger. She made full use of the 7 stars cloud treading steps, killing 1 Brahmasi cultivator with every step, while those Divine Court cultivators had become the target of her pursuit. There was nothing more normal than a villain of Golden Court Mountain killing people. Some frightened cultivators were able to resist her attack, but that was only for a brief moment. They were like sheep waiting to be slaughtered in a cage, while little Yuan was a hunter with a knife in hand. Despair and fear pervaded the air. Zhou did not join the battle. With a wave of his hand, the huge avatar disappeared as he flew back to Evil Sky Pavilion. Master, a trace of blood trickled down the corner of Duanmu Sheng's mouth because he could bear no more. Zhou glanced at him and saw his loyalty reach 80%, which surprised him. He had simply taught him the Divine One technique. Nevertheless, it was a good thing to have one more loyal disciple. His injury should be from his battle with Dudafang of the Righteous Sect. It was amazing that he could bear it for so long. Of course, it was also because of Ji Qindao's torture in the past that he had become so tough today. An ordinary cultivator would have collapsed to the ground by now. Whereas old Fourth? Zhou asked faintly. Fourth junior brother fought a fierce battle with Fang Jinshan and others, but he was outnumbered and eventually fled after they wounded him. He paused for a moment and added hurriedly, I don't know where he is right now. Zhou waved a hand. At the gesture, Witzard carried Yi Qianxin, who was in a coma, and landed in the courtyard within Evil Sky Pavilion. After placing her on the ground, it flew up in the air again and disappeared into the sky. Six, junior sister. Duanmu Sheng looked surprised. Yi Qianxin owned the amorous hoop, a heaven-grade weapon, and was ranked 9th on the black roll. Even so, she was so badly wounded, which was something he found hard to believe. Right now, the disciples they were all wounded except for little Yuan, who was killing the cultivators like an unscrupulous wolf, filling Zhou's ears with system prompts that informed him about the merit points he was rewarded. Zhou turned slowly, and Zhou Jifeng trembled before walking quickly toward him from not far away. He dropped to one knee at about 5 meters away and said, I wish to join Golden Court Mountain and serve you. Ding, you have obtained a subordinate, Zhou Jifeng, a Divine Court cultivator. You are rewarded with 100 merit points. Zhou gave him a sideways glance. He did not nod or shake his head, but just said in a faint tone, Tidy up the place. He had no time to listen to Zhou Jifeng's explanation, and he did not want to know what happened after he left Heavenly Sword Sect. So he just gave him an order. Yes, senior. Zhou Jifeng was overjoyed, and he unsheathed his sword. With a fierce look in his eyes, he leaped toward those fleeing Brahmasi cultivators. Meanwhile, Zhou turned around and walked into the Evil Sky Pavilion. The interior of the pavilion was a secluded cultivation venue specially built by Ji Tiandao. Even a nascent divinity tribulation cultivator would need to use a very long time to break it with force. Zhou pressed a secret switch, causing a door to buzz and slide open to the left. He stepped through it and closed it again. The world fell silent, and the effect of the peak form experience card ended at the same time. The enormous amount of energy in his dantian receded instantly like tides. Anyhow, Zhou was quite calm. The interior of the pavilion was dimly lit, with only a faint light shining through the ceiling. This place was really suitable for cultivation. Zhou did not need to pay more attention to what was going on outside. He needed to sort out his thoughts and reorganize his trump cards now. Name, Zhou. Race, human. Cultivation base, the chi refining and soul-forming stage of the sense-condensing realm. Merit points, 6,674. Avatar, 3 condensing flowers. Remaining life, 5,506 days. Items, critical block cards, passive, X7. Cultivation technique, 3 scrolls of heaven writing. Weapons, amorous hoop, owner, Yi Qianxin. It needs to be refined again before it can be used. The peak form experience cards were indeed gone, and he only had 7 critical block cards left. A powerful enemy could attack 10 or even 100 times in the span of a breath, so 7 blocks did not mean much. Now that he had no more trump cards, what should he do? As the greatest villain of Golden Court Mountain, he was the target of many cultivators out there. Zhou sat cross-legged between the shafts of light, lost in thought. The shield had been fixed, and it could stop any formidable enemies for 10 days to half a month. Moreover, after using 2 peak form experience cards in a row, Zhou had shocked the righteous cultivators. No matter how stupid they would not dare to invade Golden Court Mountain again like this. The trip to Anyang had brought him over 6,000 merit points. Along the way, he had heard many system prompts, and it was expected that he would have accumulated so many merit points. The kidnapping of the CI family, the submission of Pan Zhong, the capture of Yi Qianxin, all these had provided him merit points. As for those whom he had killed, he did not have the mood to count them. Talking about weapons, Zhou did not expect that the heaven-grade treasure he seized from his disciple could be used again. However, it was not easy to refine a heaven-grade treasure, because it was extremely difficult to change it after it had recognized a master. In fact, it was more difficult than changing a person's mind. Ding. A divine court cultivator is killed. You are rewarded with 100 merit points. Ding. A Brahmasi cultivator is killed. You are rewarded with 10 merit points. Zhou shook his head. They were only 1 realm apart, and yet the reward was 10 times different. Now that he had plenty of merit points, he needed to think about how he should use them. Should he try lucky draws? To him, it was like gambling. Although he could accumulate luck points through lucky draws, what should he do if he were down on luck and kept losing? He thought he should just wait for a little longer, until Little Yuaner and Zhou Jifeng had killed the remaining cultivators. Thinking that, he rose to his feet and glanced around. He seemed to have not come into the secret chamber for a very long time, so there were many things left forgotten in here. Although the chamber was dimly lit, he could still roughly see the things. Many cultivation techniques of the righteous sects were kept here, such as the ancient one-sword technique, the tranquil spell, the Tao Heart Sutra, and many others. From what he knew, they were not practiced by any of his disciples. He could understand the reason, because these techniques were nowhere nearly as good as those given by the system. In addition to cultivation techniques, there were also some weapons. Most of them were just mystic grade and yellow grade, which were very inferior weapons in the eyes of nascent divinity tribulation cultivators. It was the same for Zhou, and he lost his interest after briefly glancing at them. They were all covered in a thick layer of dust, meaning that they had not been touched for a long time. Most of them were old, and Zhou could not remember where they came from or how to use them. Meanwhile, in the courtyard of Evil Sky Pavilion, Yi Qianxin woke with a start from excruciating pain in her abdomen. She opened her eyes with great difficulty and looked around her. This is the Evil Sky Pavilion? It was a place where the ceremony of her joining the sect was held many years ago, and she recognized it at a glance. Everything here was familiar to her, every tree, wall, even the lines on the walls. Right then, a somewhat weak voice rang out. Six, junior sister? Yi Qianxin was taken aback. She hurriedly turned toward the voice and saw Mingshir-een stagger toward her. His hair were disheveled, face dirty, and chest stained with blood. Fourth senior brother? Mingshir-een sat down beside her and showed a tired smile as he said, "Junior sister, it's right to come back." "What?" Yi Tianxin frowned slightly. She did not understand what he meant. "Just get used to it. It is all tricks. Cough. Cough." Mingshir-een coughed and wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth with the back of his hand. Yi Tianxin put a hand on the ground and pushed herself up. The look on her face was rather miserable and puzzled. Tricks? None of it mattered anymore. She rested her eyes on Mingshir-een. In addition to the bloodstain, he had dirt on his body as well. There was also a long, narrow gash on his chest, which looked quite scary. Under the bright sunlight, she saw that the wound had not scabbed. Flies were buzzing around the wound, attracted by the smell of blood and flesh. Was this her fourth senior brother whom the world feared? Was this Mingshir-een, a Tao-transforming divine court expert? Even flies were bullying him right now. "I never thought I would see you like this one day," Yi Tianxin said weakly. The hot sunshine and dry air made her feel a little uncomfortable. Mingshir-een raised his hand and waved. She did not know whether he was driving the flies away or denying her. "I'm just tired. That old thing left you all on the mountain to die. I can't believe that you willingly stayed behind to work yourself to death for him. Are you crazy?" Yi Tianxin sneered. Mingshir-een was so tired that he could hardly keep his eyelids open, but he still replied, "You don't understand. I'm not like you. I still respect Master very much." When he had finished, he closed his eyes and fell asleep. Right then, a wonderful scene occurred. Tiny seedlings sprouted from the gaps in the ground around Mingshir-een and began to grow at a speed visible to the naked eye. The branches grew from thin to thick, bursting through the earth and rocks as they wrapped Mingshir-een in them, blocking the hot sunshine and the flies. Yi Tianxin frowned and looked at the scene with disbelief. This... She instinctively moved back a little bit. The courtyard in front of Evil Sky Pavilion was huge enough to fill over 1,000 people, but she still moved back worriedly. A short moment later, she realized what was happening, and she murmured to herself, "Senior brother has mastered the complete Bluewood technique." It was the essence of the Bluewood technique. When it was cultivated to the peak, it could revive and give the cultivator a new life. It also meant that after transcending the tribulation, Mingshir-een would become an expert of the same realm as Yi Tianxin. He would step into the nascent divinity tribulation realm. When did the old villain become so generous? Yi Tianxin stared at the area covered by woods, stupefied. "Master," a figure in blue clothes descended from the sky into the courtyard. It was little Yuan. She glanced around and saw Yi Tianxin. "Humph, where's my master, traitor?" She put her hands on her waist and looked at Yi Tianxin with some hostility. The latter raised her head and glanced at the cute and innocent little Yuan as she shook her head and said, "Little junior sister, come over here." "I don't want to," said little Yuan. "Can you tell me what the old thing's been doing all these years?" Little Yuan crossed her arms and ignored her. That put a frown on Yi Tianxin's brow, and she shook her head helplessly. She knew it would be very difficult to know more about the old villain from her little junior sister. "Little junior sister," Duanmu Sheng's voice rang out from behind. "Third senior brother." Duanmu Sheng was not in good shape either. He was chained all over and covered in wounds, with a bloody nose and a swollen face. However, he could still walk and fight. Yi Tianxin sneered again, but she stopped immediately when she saw Duanmu Sheng glare at her. "Yi Tianxin, you have deserted the sect, betrayed Master, and your treachery is hated by both man and heaven. How dare you laugh?" Unlike Mingshir-een and little Yuan, Duanmu Sheng had a calmer character, but he also had a fiercer temper. He knew Yi Tianxin played a major role in the latest disaster of Golden Court Mountain, so he was mad at her. "Senior brother, now that we are at this point, you don't have to be hypocritical anymore. Have you forgotten how the old thing used to treat us?" Duanmu Sheng paused. He joined the sect very early, and he naturally knew how their master treated his disciples. Had it not been because of that, how would he be betrayed by so many disciples? Yi Tianxin went on, Look at how bedraggled you all appear now. The old thing is about to die. When the time comes, I hope you will be as righteous as you are today." "Shut up." Duanmu Sheng's nostrils flared. "You honor. Since Master's not here, I want you to slap her in the face for me." "Ah." "Do as I say." "Oh." Little Yuaner walked to her senior sister and closed her eyes as she raised a hand and threw it across Yi Qianxin's face. The slap was loud and clear, and it numbed the latter's cheek. Duanmu Sheng reproached, "With this slap, I hope you will remember that this is the Evil Sky Pavilion, the very place where you learned all your skills from Master. If you dare to say anything rude again, don't blame me for not showing you mercy." His voice was so loud that it shook Yi Qianxin and rocked her qi and blood. Although Duanmu Sheng was wounded, he had no problem making such a loud sound. Since Yi Qianxin had lost her cultivation base, she could not withstand it, and she coughed out a mouthful of blood. "Senior brother, let me help you remove the chains," said little Yuaner. "No need. The chain is made from cold iron that is over 1,000 years old. I'm afraid only eldest senior brother's Jasper Saber and second senior brother's Longevity Sword can cut through it." Duanmu Sheng shook his head and sighed. Just then, Zhou Jifeng walked nervously into the courtyard while carrying his sword on his back. This was the second time he had entered Evil Sky Pavilion, and his heart was in a flutter. Even though the three villains here were wounded, he was still very nervous and afraid, not to mention there was another moody little villain. "Stop!" Little Yuaner shouted at him. "Greetings, SA seniors." Zhou Jifeng cupped his fists and stammered. "You were a disciple of Heavenly Sword Sect, which is a famous righteous sect. Why do you want to join Golden Court Mountain? Are you not afraid of being laughed at by the world?" asked Duanmu Sheng. However, Zhou Jifeng was unperturbed. "If I were afraid of being laughed at, I wouldn't be standing here. Now that I'm here, it means I've thought it over. Old senior, where are you? Please give this junior a chance to explain." He dropped to his knees. Yi Qianxin gave Zhou Jifeng a complicated look before laughing. "Crazy, you're crazy. So many people are eager to stay as far away from Golden Court Mountain as possible, and yet you chose to join it. Are you so impatient to get yourself killed?" Zhou Jifeng did not look at Yi Qianxin. "Old senior has bestowed me with an act of kindness." "Kindness? This is so funny, so damn funny." Lu Zhou sighed after he roughly went through all the things in the chamber. They were all old items. Some were pretty good, though, and might come in handy later. He found that his merit points had not increased for a while, so he walked back under the light, considering how he would use them. 7,540 points. Lu Zhou looked at the merit points on the system panel as he opened the shopping mall. A mighty 4 quadrants avatar cost 5,000 merit points. He shook his head. The avatar could at most improve his cultivation base to the peak of the sense-condensing realm, which was not enough to keep his life safe. A 5 Energies Universe avatar was out of consideration because it cost 8,000 merit points. Weapons. Lu Zhou glanced at the weapons in the system. They were divided into categories such as sabers, spears, cudgels, halberds, and many others, and there were 4 grades as well, namely Heaven, Earth, Mystic, and Yellow. It was just that good weapons needed a powerful cultivation base to support them. Cards. A reversal card cost 500 merit points, and a critical block card cost 100 merit points. They were expensive and not worthy enough to be his trump cards. Lu Zhou shook his head and glanced further down. An impeccable card? Impeccable card provides 10 seconds of damage immunity. 500 merit points. This card is not bad. It's almost like invincibility, but 10 seconds is too short. I will still be under threat after that. If there are no good counterattacks, I'd rather use a card that can help me flee. Nevertheless, it is still a good card, but it must be used based on the actual situation. Lu Zhou did not rush to buy it, but continued to look at other cards. Deadly Strike card provides an unspeakable power to deliver a fatal blow to the target. 500 merit points. Lu Zhou looked at the description of this card carefully. As an online game enthusiast in his previous life, he knew that if an item he got from killing a monster had the Deadly Strike ability, it usually had a very low chance of being triggered. However, This card did not have such a limitation. He looked to the right and then to the left, but found no other description or limitation. Unspeakable power. What does it mean? Zhou was lost in thought. No matter what power it is, this card should not be bad based on the description. I might buy it later. Top grade defense card. Reduced damage by 90% for 30 seconds. 500 merit points. Second grade defense card. Reduced damage by 60% for 30 seconds. 300 merit points. The more than a dozen cards after that were all defensive cards. Since Zhou's current cultivation base was only at the sense condensing realm, they were pretty much useless to him. After all, even after 90% of the damage was reduced, the remaining 10% was still more than enough to kill him. He shook his head. These cards are less useful than the impeccable card. Wait a moment. Why are most of them defensive cards? Is the system trying to make me a coward? Does it want me to let others beat me like a punching bag without fighting back? This is not the fighting style of the villainous Patriarch. He looked further down. There were only a few cards that showed question marks and did not even have descriptions. He guessed that the system must have hidden their descriptions and prices, just like what it did to the avatars of Thousand Realms Whirling and Myriad Supreme. All online game enthusiasts knew that it meant they were superior and powerful. After going through all the cards, Zhou chose 3 impeccable cards and 3 deadly strike cards. The combination gave him both offense and defense. Suddenly, he had a terrible idea. What would happen if he attacked an impeccable card with a deadly strike card? Would it be the same as the tale of the strongest spear and the strongest shield? How could he try it? He felt a little embarrassed just thinking about it. Anyhow, he chose to ignore the rest of the defensive cards because offense was the best defense. In just a blink of an eye, he had spent 3,000 merit points. However, these cards did worth the price, so there was nothing to argue about.